This is Jerry Corsi with a message for 1776 Nation. We're at the edge of getting into the Republican National Convention, and some of the turnaround that's been seen. I mean, here's the Wall Street Journal reporting that Romney now has a $165 million war chest that will be available for general election purposes once he's nominated. The money advantage of the Romney campaign, I think, will not only be a distinct advantage in the general election, but also is reflective of the fact that I believe the globalists have abandoned Obama. They've decided that Obama's damaged goods. I mean, even dealing with issues going as to his records. We don't have his school records. We don't have his passport records. We've never seen original 1961 birth records. Obama's hidden who he is. He's had Barry Soetoro. Is that his legal name? It certainly shows up in the papers in Indonesia. This complex life story, undocumented, is going to hurt Obama, especially as people are saying the economy is terrible, getting worse. The Obama administration can only run maybe the worst, most negative campaign in history because the Obama administration can't run on its record. Even Obamacare, the supposedly single major accomplishment of the Obama presidency, which is a job-killing measure, still heavily in debate, now even with Paul Ryan capturing the lead on the Medicare argument, that Medicare was cut in order to provide and shift money over to Obamacare. And as much as the Democrats try to spin on that one, it's pretty clear that money was taken from Medicare, and they can argue all kinds of savings of this kind and that kind. The Democrats can, but if those savings were possible, why not make them anyway? It's not unique to imposing Obamacare. And Obamacare's got so many taxes into it, so many hidden expenses, so much of an increase of the bureaucracy, that this is a measure we cannot afford to implement. I said before, and I'm going to repeat again, that the Tea Party is the major driving factor in this election. As I'm watching the crowds show up for Romney, I'm seeing the Tea Party is mobilizing. And the Tea Party mobilization is something that's going to shock the mainstream media pundits who wanted to argue that the Tea Party is dead. The Tea Party is far from dead. The Tea Party is ready to line up largely behind Paul Ryan, knowing that Paul Ryan is, the most true conservative we've had nominated by the Republican Party going back to Ronald Reagan. I mean, this is really the possibility of getting someone in the White House who really understands budgets, understands the need to cut spending, to reverse the socialism that Obama is determined to introduce. It's remarkable the globalists have abandoned Obama. He's not raising money. They realize he failed just being too obviously communist with his past, with his rhetoric. Again, as I argued with Saul Alinsky, the book I have out on the evil genius behind Obama, an ebook, you can see that this rhetoric, fair share of taxes, class warfare, dividing one another, is Marxism 101. And it's not going to work. It's not going to work in a nation where Obama's most lasting accomplishment may be his claim to be the first gay president, promoting the LGBT agenda with nominations to various presidential appointments, as I've documented in WND. This is even going to turn the black pastors against Obama. This continuing issue of why the gay agenda is so important to advance when we're in fact in economic distress. As I pointed out in a number of these, Barack Obama himself, it's not a matter of moral judgment, but hypocrisy on his own life and background. The pressure is going to continue on Obama to really fess up to relationships he's had, rumored all the way back to when he was in college. As I've documented again, wearing a wedding ring in college in Occidental and even through Harvard in 1990, when there's no indication he was married to anyone. The issue driving forward on the economy, on jobs, is one where I think new life will be seen at the Republican National Convention. It's critical that we understand that the globalists feel that Obama has been unsuccessful, a flop. They want someone, the globalists, I'm talking about the George Soroses of the world, the people I wrote about in America for Sale, that want a new world order, want one world government, but want it put into effect in a stealth fashion, like George W. Bush did with the Security and Prosperity Partnership in North America. Don't want it as obvious, as amateurish, as poorly done as Barack Obama has in his first 4 years and hopefully his last 4 years. Again, the Tea Party has got to mobilize. Yes, there's going to be much about Romney that will have to be opposed in a Romney administration. We're going to have to go back to looking at globalist themes, Agenda 21. We're going to face crises where the euro may not survive, even though I believe Europe will try to make one last effort to go to more central government, more central banks, more regional administration from Luxembourg and Brussels to save the euro and ultimately to save the EU. It's a failed enterprise. It's again a socialist dream, but the left and the right have both shared this idea of a one world government, and it's never going to work. It's something that even biblically there's good justification for saying is a failed concept. I think if we can turn back this tide, we've got the possibility of reestablishing the importance of morals in American life. Bring God back in to America. We'll have a book out in January, Attacking the ACLU. You can take a look at it now. It's The Bad Samaritan, the title of the book. It'll be out in January. And in September 1, in fact, it's coming available now, my book on abiotic oil, that oil is plentiful, called The Great Oil Conspiracy. You see me writing more and more about this, talking more about it, back on the media on this issue, because the large oil companies, countries, scientists around the world have known since the Nazi scientists discovered the formulas for abiotic oil, that oils produced naturally by the earth on an ongoing basis were not in short supply. The Obama administration has been running a failed, green, ideological effort to funnel money to supporters of the Democratic Party. You know, the James Johnsons of the world who enriched themselves with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and the build up the drumbeat for the ownership society that even George Bush bought into, a fundamentally democratic idea to pump up the home equity market. We can see the disastrous results that's led to. Well, an equally failed idea is this green technology. The wind power, solar power are not as robust or powerful as we need to have major industrial activity. My book, The Great Oil Conspiracy, goes back and shows not that Nazi synthetic oil was the solution. The Nazis, for as hideous as they were, still had some of the greatest scientists in the world, and the formulas, the Fischer-Tropsch formulas you'll see in this book, were the fundamental equations that explain how the Earth forms hydrocarbons on an ongoing basis. I even went back to the National Archives and pulled out from Operation Paperclip the pictures and the resumes of the Nazi scientists we brought to the United States at the end of World War II, then ignoring the fundamental conclusions, the fundamental equations. The Nazis knew that they had cracked the code as to what makes oil, why it is made, and how it is made naturally. And our scientists have hid this from us. I think the oil companies are getting ready to acknowledge that when we're finding oil at these tremendous deep earth and tremendous deep water levels, that oil is made in the mantle of the earth and is abundant. I want to press this theme as we enter into the next and final 2 months of the campaign, because again, it's not just jobs, it's the entire structure that we set in the economy. Taxation, the incentive system, back to private enterprise, small business, rewarding people for creating businesses and employing people, getting rid of all these regulations, and having cheap and affordable energy. Not an agenda to get the Al Gores of the Democratic Party richer on a fraudulent global warming or green energy agenda. After the election, I'm sure we're going to have to go back to the globalists, fight Agenda 21. That's going to be another major topic. We're going to have to see if, in fact, the economic collapse that occurs in the Western world with these social welfare governments, maybe we need to go back and revisit even the Federal Reserve. I always believe Congressman Ron Paul has led this debate brilliantly. We need to revisit whether we should eliminate the Federal Reserve. The fundamental questions of the 9th and 10th Amendments, rolling back the federal government, having the states protect citizens even on the border when the federal government will not. This election is going to decide the fundamental direction for the United States, whether we're going to continue down the path of private enterprise, inalienable rights, the Constitution. But even if we win, and this is an election we must win, we must defeat Barack Obama. We must turn back these socialists. We must get Fox News to come back to the fundamental principles of conservatism. As I've said before, enough Bob Beckel. Enough of all these liberal commentators. We don't need to have, even if Fox News is going to go down that path, I think even Fox News is going to lose much of its audience. We have to go in the direction of getting back to the Constitution and getting back to the fundamental principles of faith, fundamental principles of private enterprise, inalienable rights, 9th and 10th Amendments that made this country strong. These are Tea Party themes. There's never been a stronger time for the Tea Party. Let's roll back Obama's socialism, communism, lying, refusing to tell who he is, made up life history. Let's get rid of him. Park him in the Jimmy Carter dustbin of American presidents. Say thank you very much, you're fired. Let him go off to private life in international meetings like Bill Clinton has gone off to. But let's get back with the Tea Party and say to a Romney-Ryan administration, yes, we're going to help you win. And at the end of that, even in states like New Hampshire, Illinois, look at the crowds. I'd like it to be that no state is secure for Obama. Even let him fight in New Jersey, let him fight in California, in New York. You see surprising polls are going to start coming out of places like Illinois and New Hampshire, states the Democrats thought were secure. The crowds for Romney show the enthusiasm. Mainstream media isn't covering it. Forget the mainstream media. It's not worth even paying attention to them. Soon the mainstream media will be turning even harder on Obama. You're going to see the mainstream media and the Obama campaign get into fighting with each other, into internecine warfare. Let them at it, because it's just the death throes of a failed enterprise on the left, which needs to be rejected once more, with the Tea Party playing a role that Romney and Ryan are going, and the Republican Party are going to have to acknowledge. And when that role is played, when we are able to establish a Republican administration in the White House, then we go to work again, doubly, mobilize again, and make sure that the agenda of the Tea Party, smaller government, cut spending, reduce debt, get back to inalienable rights. These are the issues. Repeal Obamacare. Let John Roberts know the decision was not appreciated. And moving forward, The Tea Party message is the fundamental message of America. It's the message that has made this a unique country. It's a message of God, individual initiative, hard work. We need to take the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. and fire them by department. And you can almost start wherever you want. Education, keep going. We need fewer bureaucrats, fewer regulations, less taxation, more private enterprise, and if Europe wants to go down the drain, let it. But we in the process ought to evaluate our Federal Reserve and start printing our own money in the Treasury. I'd like to see Tea Party pressure to get Ron Paul to be appointed Secretary of Commerce, or to be put on the Board of Reserve Board of Governors with a mission to create an audit, with a mission to close it down. We've only begun to fight. And I think the mainstream media, even Fox News, are going to see the Bob Beckles reduced into the nasty type of infighting we've seen in recent days in the White House, where Obama is afraid to give interviews except to Entertainment Today. These are important times, critical times, and a turning point election. I've called for the Tea Party to mobilize. I'm saying that mobilization's got to come in two phases. Let's mobilize and beat Obama. Then let's mobilize and support Paul Ryan in the future coming Romney presidential administration. Thank you. This is Jerry Corsi with a message for 1776nation.com. Thank you.